Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 57th episode of our House of Light run. First time through YouTube. First run through House of Light on YouTube, playing the Archaeologist. Excuse me. What a start. All right. So I didn't do any to-do notes, but I think I have a pretty clear idea about what we want to get done. I will be taking language lessons with Kokila Mirajibi. I believe I was going to try and get both Insects and Nectars and Edict's Liminal leveled up, using both the Health and the Shapt. But the ideal here would be to let Denzel generate as many of the memories as possible. This would free up the Tryst, at least, for making Catwink. And then the core I could either use to make money, which doesn't seem like a very good idea. Well, okay, making the money is a good idea, but it doesn't seem like a very important task right now. But I could use it to do some gardening, or also, in theory, I could use it to feed Terrence, although, again, the talk verb's going to be taken up for the next little bit. Anyways, I think we'll just, at this point, we're just going to wait to see what the turn produces, and then, depending on how much time we have left, I'll make a decision in terms of how I use the core and the Tryst. So under Insects and Nectars, I actually think we're one short on the memories, but did Kukil receive my invitation? Artist, socialite, burglar, an unspeakably charming woman with a particular knack for getting adopted. So again, this will be language lessons. We don't need to do this immediately. Alright, so Denzel's giving us a lot of fear. Normally I'd be happy about that, but I need a little bit more. And I'm going to need 2 more moon... Yeah, actually this is a little funny to me. So with Insects and Nectars, I need 2 more of the moon or nectar. Whereas Edict's Liminal, I need 2 as well. So I actually don't have everything that I need with the... I don't have everything that I need with my Elements of the Soul, although I imagine... Oh, hang on. I was wrong about that. I am going to be getting the Salt. So yeah, it really is just a question of sitting and waiting. I think what we'll do is we'll wait until we get to that last minute in the day. Then I'll sort of pull the trigger on the core and the Tryst. Better now. And then from there we'll... we'll maybe start the language lessons. Right, Oriflammes, thanks you for your custom. So, the Book of Cinders, ostensibly an 18th century fireworks manual, but with some exotic ingredient choices and a substantial section on tephromancy, divination from ashes. I really do need to, excuse me, come up with a better shelving system at this point. Okay, the Stolen Secret is very welcome. That is basically like salt, so if I want, I could actually apply... I could apply the Stolen Secret and the salt to Edict's Liminal. The most practical benefit to this, though, is that I can use the Tryst. I'm slightly tempted to go to Crowcross Sands, but in this case, I think we might as well just queue up the Catwink, seeing as we already made some. So this means I have an element of the soul free to... what am I doing here? To make the ink. And we need the globe. There we go. Brew an ink that will ward off worms, although only the least of their kind. And the Crossing to Noon. The mystic Garcia Sauri gives a picturesque account of the adventures of Franklin Bancroft, Prince of Wines, and Ava de Wolf, the Pale Lady, on their way to the hidden island of Noon. For a long time, the Blackbone pondered her next move, until the moon dared to peep from behind a cloud, and the prince completed the composition of his third sestina, but the lady met the blind gaze of its open pores, waiting for the tide. Garcia Sauri acknowledges in an epilogue that it is widely known that Ava in fact tragically drowned herself and her twin infant granddaughters without ever making such a journey, but he adds contemptuously, it is also widely known that the city unbuilt will so remain, that only one history is ever written, and that Janus is a Mansus prank. Okay. So we've got 2 more rounds with Denzel. I think our chances are pretty good at recovering at least 1 more memory. And then, I don't know, it would be nice to have as a sort of a private goal for today, I'd say all of the lessons. And then at that point, we can make a decision between either more books, or we can... It says a lot, does a lot with silence, this man. So unfortunately, the heart... This is another case where it would be excuse me, would have been helpful to keep the... I'm sorry, the Lockworks and Clockworks, because I believe we've had 2 Sky. But yeah, if nothing else, just taking all the lessons from the salon, setting those aside, and sort of getting on with the rest of the day. I'll give it 1 more round here, and then we'll see. And I didn't quite time this out properly, so if I try and recover something at the Sweet Bones... I mean, I suppose what I could do here would be use the health to earn some money. Sorry, what am I thinking here? Sorry, I'd restore 1 of the health, and then I'd use 1 health to generate a memory. Well... Yeah, I mean, it basically turns out to be it's kind of equivalent to buying a cat wink with... No, I don't need to get too clever. I think I'll just leave the Sweet Bones as it is. We will see what Denzel gives me, but I should probably prepare to just use the core and the tryst to generate the memories. Regret, Forge, and Winter. So again, just double checking here. No Knock that I'm not familiar with. No Moth that I'm familiar with. Alright. So we'll set you aside, Denzel. We'll talk with Coquille. Darling, hello. I have the teensiest favor to ask. If there's an incident card active, you can discuss it, or just leave the slot empty and offer a consultation. Or, I just toss my 10 spentry in here. Tutoring Vac, my visitor can teach me the rudiments of this bold language. After tutoring you, the visitor will leave, even if they arrived on other business. Alright, so we've got the catwink. The smell of catwink puts off vermin, but it is very different to read in sunlight, an ink of containment. So based on the decisions that I've made, I'm going to... we'll take the health... I guess it doesn't really matter the order here, but we'll do health and shaft. The insects and nectars is the more difficult of the two, so just on the odd chance that something goes wrong, we will combine these like so. So another fruit plucked from knowledge's tree. Improve the skill to level 4. So now what we want are the Knock and the Moth, although of course we don't have Denzel helping us anymore, so it's our choice really in terms of whatever we'd like to read. So we go to Ava's desk. We can read... I guess we can keep going. I'm going to move the Queen's Turn to the end here just because all of these are about Ava and Franklin Bancroft. And then we can maybe do something like a pattern or something. I'll go from the bottom to the top and see what works for Edict's Liminal. So Bittersweet doesn't. Beguiling, no Solace, no Storms. Gossip doesn't work. Contradictions doesn't have Moth. So pattern it is. Okay, so once we finish reading the books, that'll be in 1 minute, we'll use the Shapt to level up Edict's Liminal. I suppose there would be a question in terms of what I want to apply. Actually, you know what I should have done? It's too late now, but if I had restored the metal at the Sweet Bones, I would have been able to catalog another one of these. No biggie, though. The skill is now level 4. Its power aspects have also increased. So one thing I may want to keep in mind moving forward. So I did have a number of... let me just double check here. So anything under Skolakosophy should be at 3 or higher now. So I'm just going to make a quick note on that. Okay, so Lockworks and Clockworks has already got the benefit. Pentiments and Precursors, of course, is already committed, so I'm going to get rid of that. And actually, that's also brought us up to date with the Ragged Crossroads, which I think went ahead of the other ones. Okay, so I've got a little bit to work with. Let's just see... Actually, I should probably make a decision in terms of the memory that I keep. So let's just see if any of these are Skolakosophy flavored. So yeah, the funny thing, I guess, we've got the Ragged Crossroads, although right now Ragged Crossroads is at 3. Seventh Voice is a preliminary meter. Now, what was the story about that? Gonna have a think on that one. Sacralamea... Maybe. Lots of Ragged Crossroads, it seems. Alloy of the White Rose. Now, do I have Purifications and Exaltations yet? I don't think we do. So I think that one has Lantern and Sky. Okay, so this should be a pretty high priority. And then Resurgences and Emergences, I don't think... Right, this was actually a free one for other uses. Okay. So these two are high on the list. Just trying to see if I've got anything with maybe Coil and Chasm that would be... I suppose I would have used it already. The Ascendant would actually also be a nice one. So let me just see here. So we've got Hyksos, which gives me the 1. So then we have 5, 6 with... Yeah. If I was better with generating memories, I would be okay there, but I'm not. So let's work with this idea that I'm going to try and read the Alloy of the White Rose. Well, how would I even do that in the first place? Like, so it's all well and good for me to say I'm going to try this. So I would do a Faust, which would take me up to 6. I could get 8 with the memory, but that would still leave me 1 short. I think I'd be willing to take my chances with a 9, though, because I do have the Whist as a backup. Okay. Now, the problem with that... Actually, I guess the Solace is the most helpful in that case. So that's what we're going to rest on. Now that night has fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. So right now, this is going to be reading out... Essentially reading out any of the really basic texts that sort of give me the things that are completely unobjectionable, right? So what I mean by that would be whatever I decide to do with Resurgences and Emergences, that's fine because this is already committed. In terms of Purifications and Exaltations, I don't see any situation in which I would want to have this as anything but 2, so I can use that right away. Where it might get a little bit thornier would be, okay, so if I read the Book of Cinders, do I want to take Pyroglyphics up to, level 5 because it's Ithistry, or do I want it to be... Actually, you know what? In this case, this also works because Pyroglyphics, if I put it into Illumination, I would still be pushing it past the language that's committed there. So, okay, that gives me another one to work on. So we've got some books to work with. A Pale Lady and a Prince of Wines. An anonymous biography of Ava de Wolf, last of the de Wolfs, focused rather salaciously on her personal troubles and intrigues. Ava de Wolf is engaged to one Abraham Wheelock, but he leaves her at the altar. Furious and humiliated, she returns to Brandkrug and is not seen in London again. 3 days after her departure, Abraham Wheelock's body is washed up near Gravesend. His face is so badly pecked by birds that he is only identified by his belongings. These include a waxed pouch containing a letter addressed to Wheelock, whose contents seem to show that he is a spy in the pay of the Austrians. Subsequent investigation suggests that the letter is a forgery, but the matter remains obscure. Lord Franklin Bancroft, sometimes called the Prince of Wines, begins a series of visits to Brandkrug House. His relationship with Ava becomes a source of scandal. Ava is by now 49, but rumors persist for years of a de Wolf Bancroft heir. Ava's biographer claims that before her drowning death, her child by Bancroft was adopted by her friends the Southies, that the child became the sister of the later poet laureate Robert Southey. No real evidence is provided in support of this claim. Okay, the other eye of the serpent, in which the Hesiarch Signifer attempts to resolve certain mysteries of lightning. Signifer considers lightning to be the division, the connection, the joined serpent. The serpent's eye is said to be the sun, but as the division and connection, it must have a second eye. Signifer considers and rejects 3 times the hypothesis that the moon is the serpent's other eye, insisting that it and the sun do not share a nature. This, as much as the serpent business, is what got him burnt by the church. He proposes that the serpent's teeth are towers, that the serpent's mouth is a gate, that the serpent is the devourer of yeas, and therefore that the serpent's other eye is amber. Alright. So, Edict's Liminal. And the Shot. I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. So I think we're ready to go. I'm going to have to, if I want to take a crack at the Alloy of the White Rose, I'm going to need a Lantern Memory, so I'm going to have to give up one of the elements of the soul for that. I think I'll probably try and read the Book of Cinders. We can use Bells and Braziaries, so then I can probably use a Shapt with that. But I think before I do too much, I'm also going to see what the weather is. The skill is now level 3, its power aspects have also increased. Alright, memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. Right now we're just going to sit and wait. Okay, so the sunny day helps me. So first things first, we're going to go to the Pale Desk. Solomon Husher himself commissioned this from Lockwood Fen Bogu, blackened and half fossilized by centuries underwater. Here at this desk he wrote his doomy allegory of winter and its romance with the sun. When he blotted the last word on his manuscript and rose from his work, the timber had turned pale as fresh-cut maple, or so the story goes. Okay, so... For this one, I need as much lantern as I can bring, so I think 3 is the highest. Yep. So Watchman's Paradoxes. We can bring in the sunny day, and then finally I can add the mirror scope. So we're still not quite where we need to be with the Alloy of the White Rose, but because I have the Whist, I can get that, and I'll maybe get a memory as well. That will hopefully make it a bit easier to pull this one off. Excuse me. Because I'm not doing much with the weather, I'm going to use my health to speak with Denzel. I'm always welcome at Denzel's smithy. Denzel rarely works for free, but he won't take payment for helping a friend. And let's see if we can get away with that Book of Cinders plan as well. Okay, so I can master this mystery enough forge to match Mystery Forge. So the plan here, given that I'm going to be leveling up pyroglyphics, this needs Forge and Lantern, and one of the things that I can do to avoid the possibility that Denzel hits me with let's say a Foresight, I can read glimmerings, and most books tend not to give me something that that'll give me a bittersweet certainty. So this is a fairly high certainty. In this case, probably the Arab makes more sense to give up because I don't have an immediate use for it here. And then I will also take the time to catalog. Actually, you know what? I don't think I can catalog. Well, I can catalog with my consider verb. So catalog a solar period book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's solar Gothic period, roughly between the 1000s and the 1500s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. One other thing I wanted to do, let's do some manual labor to earn money. So of course we have a minute before we have a minute before I can use Denzel anyway, but I figured I'd probably need the memories for the for leveling, or sorry. I figured I'd probably need the memories from him to help level up the existing skills, and if not, it just sort of helps me point my attention towards other things I can be doing. All right, commandments for the preservation of all that exists. So only one more to go. I'm not quite sure I want to catalog with this yet. Well, let's see how the memories go first. I think I'm just going to wait for a little more progress in the day before I decide how I'd like to use things. It's very hard for me to say that I really need one more solar period book right now, given how much else we're up to. So in 10 seconds, we'll see whether or not I'm in any trouble. Oof. All right. I am very tempted to see what Ubisunt gives. However, we will take advantage of the art. This, of course, makes me glad that I used the weather for the. This makes me happy that I used the weather for the memory rather than trying to use it in the follow-up. All right, Glimmerings, an anonymous prison diary written by a dreamer convicted of oniric irresponsibility and confined to the cucurbit. The prisoner is plainly terrified and bewildered by their situation and has been unable to wrangle a coherent explanation out of anyone, but the dreams keep coming and they keep writing them down. Snow, broken mirrors, half-heard sky music, flowers of white, red, and black, a blood-streaked winter dawn, the most notorious signifiers of oniric risk, fantastically vivid and detailed. No wonder they were locked up. Their final recorded dream is of a worm jewel beneath Brandkrug Isle, which they open with a key carved from their finger bone. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So I think I'm going to restore both health today. We'll see. I've learnt enough to puzzle out books in this language, though it might be slow going. Right, Vak, before gods arose from blood, and before ape ever stood upright, this was the language heard in the house of the sun. I am Vak, the peacock door boasted, both the tongue and the goddess. I am the only entrance into secret light. I was worshipped before you upright apes, and I will still be when all of you are ugly ash. Listen, and I will prove it. So, knock and rose, although I very rarely use it for those. What we do use it, though, for is Nyctodromy. I think it's actually the only one left in the list. Nope, my bad. Deep Mandiac as well. And then, of course, Crack Track. But which reminds me, I really should be inviting Stanislav, although perhaps with a Bronze Spin Trio, we might want to hold off on that. And this is actually, this is the one we've been missing all along, so we do finally have all of the elements of the soul. It's taken us so many episodes, but I'm glad we're there now. So, an arrangement, something not commonly understood. Without Vak, the exception, there could be no Calyptra, the law. Vak is, in this sense, and perhaps in every sense, Calyptra's servant. This is known to scholars of the night arts. So this will, of course, change some of my priorities as far as, or not, maybe not priorities, but this also opens up more possibilities in terms of what books that I can read. Definitely being short that 2 rows was a challenge. So Concursum Diaries would be an example of... although I don't think we have that much rows kicking around. Yeah, so we can expect about 6. Well, no, okay, so if we do that with Concursum Diaries, we'd then have a memory that we can apply. Okay, yeah, no, we're good. We should probably be talking with Denzel, though. Speak to Denzel, he might even reply. Alright, take a moment to look at something here. Increase relevant aspects by referencing a piece of wall art. So, portrait of beheaded lady, maybe? Yep. The more prominent the headgear, the closer to the glory. There's still a chance. Excellent. Alright. The Alloy of the White Rose, an account by Mistress Whiteflower of the alchemical techniques favored by the House of York, also identified with the Dawn Road. These techniques failed to bring them victory in the War of the Roads, but are not to be discounted. The author asserts proudly that the Dawn Road ends in the Second Dawn, and hints darkly that the downfall of the House of York was Grail sabotage. Mistress Whiteflower urges a history of Uzalt, where the Second Dawn may come to pass. She identifies xanthotic essence as Uzalt's predecessor. She explains that with sufficient lantern, bitter black salts can be purified to xanthotic essence, and iotic essence can be exalted to xanthotic essence. For some reason, I never thought about the bitter black salts with xanthotic essence. Got a use for those now. Alright, so this gives me 2 purifications and exaltations, and is a memory revelation. Now, this is foresight. I think, okay, I may need a new shelf for revelations. Looks like it. Okay, so this will be the patterns shelf for now. Actually, I don't need to add a new shelf. We'll just change these 2 around. I'll be getting a lot of patterns if the previous playthroughs are any indication, but... Okay. So the purifications and exaltations, the first one should be straightforward. I wonder why Coil and Chasm's sitting here, incidentally. It feels like this should have been due for a higher level, and then it was never delivered. Anyway, we can simply acquire it in the first place, so use this lesson to acquire a new skill. And the next step is going to be, I think I want to use this revelation fairly soon. Actually, the Solace makes a little more sense. Yeah, so we use the Solace with purifications and exaltations, and then because Pyroglyphics is at 2, we actually use these with... Okay, so this is all well and good. The only catch is... Oh no, we used the Whist. Okay, nope. We have a game plan. Excuse me. He does a lot with silence, this man. Speak to Denzel, he might even reply. And I think what we'll do is we'll read the description of the Book of Cinders, and then we'll leave the rest of the work for tomorrow. So the Book of Cinders, ostensibly an 18th century fireworks manual, but with some exotic ingredient choices and a substantial section on tephromancy, divination from ashes. The text takes as its theme the motto of the Society of the Noble Endeavor, Alter Propiris Ignis Cinerbis, a fire by its own ashes is nourished, and uses this as a way into discussions of alchemical techniques. A surprisingly casual final section mentions that iotic essence, the root of the great and exalted ink or pimental, can be refined with enough forage from a variety of liquids. So, 1 pyroglyphics lesson. We'll stick these 2 with it. And foresight. So, we already have a really big shelf for foresight. Okay, I have more than I need. Another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms. No one ever truly wants to be truly changed, as Oth and Refulgan are justly feared, but no one who has been changed would choose to go back. George Collars, and I forgot that this is effective against corruption, so we may be able to make a little more progress with the cursed books. Alright, so I'll move spices and savors down. Let's at least queue up the pyroglyphics. So I'm doing the pyroglyphics first just because it, excuse me, it's the one that takes more memories. And then I can't use Whist here because I need Whist for purifications and exaltations, so we'll use Shapt. I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. So for tomorrow, the simplest set of things for me to do will level up purifications and exaltations, so that'll bring it to level 2. I probably will put all of the Tryst into Catwink. That basically prepares me for the next Salon. Now that leaves open the Arab and the Core. So there is a side of me that maybe wants to try another book, although I don't think that's the smartest thing that I can be doing with my time right now. But I think maybe what we'll do with the Arab is we'll talk with Terrence, and then I do at some point actually need to feed the cat. Actually, you know what? Okay. Because we're so close to the Catwink that we need, I'm actually going to do one trip to Crowcross Sands already. But yeah, I think we're in decent shape. So the Arab for Terrence, Tryst for ink, Core for gardening, Whist for leveling up, and then we'll need to figure out what we need to do with Fet, but I'm sure I'll find some use for it. Anyways, all of that will be for the future. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in tomorrow's episode, Friday, for, well, at least the last one this week. Until then, take care.